Good evening. Welcome to the Laverne Board of Zoning Appeals, June 30th, 2020. This is a regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. The first thing I'd like to mention tonight is I would like to welcome our newest member to the board, Elizabeth Dandler. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on board.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order. We have a full board, so certainly we do have a quorum. The first order of business is to go over the minutes of our last meeting, which was in January. We haven't had any meetings lately because of COVID-19. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Make a motion.
Second.
It's been a motion made and a seconded to approve the minutes as approved. We'll have a show of hands. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, raise your hands. Unanimous, the minutes are approved. Next is the new business. We have a request for a sign variance. The property is located at 233 Mason Road. It's a heavy industrial zoning district. The parcel is owned by the Industrial Development Board of Rutherford County. Would you read the report, please, Bo?
Thank you. Item 1 is for a sign variance for the locations at 233 Mason Road. And the property, as the chairman mentioned, is owned by the Industrial Development Board of Rutherford County. Can see here the imagery is a little bit older than we would like, but you can see the parcel that's in question, and there in the corner is the water tower that is the subject of tonight's request. So it's a little unique in that we don't really get a lot of requests in the city for this type of sign, and it's really a mural. You can see the water tower there. That's from Mason Road. And then another view of the water tower. So the proposal by the applicant is to put, and I'll come back to that picture. The proposal by ICE is to install this mural as shown in the photo. And typically, if it's an industrial commercial building in Laverne, you're allowed one wall sign of 100 square feet. And then if you have multiple road frontages, you can request another sign. But being this is not actually a building, it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples on this one. They have submitted the dimensions of the mural. It'd be approximately 17 feet tall and about 20 feet 8 inches wide. But keep in mind that takes into account the circumference of that tower. So it may appear to be a little more narrow than that, but if you were to take the tower and unfold it, so to speak, and straighten it out, it'd be about 20 feet 8 inches wide. There's been a sign on the property for many, probably 2.5 months or 3 due to COVID-19, and there's not been any phone calls, no inquiries of staff about the request. And back to the other photo. So this is the ICE building, and some of you are familiar with it, but it sits quite a ways off the road. Go back to that aerial. So the water tower is there in the corner, and then the IC property is back here to the east, the IC building. And so if you're wondering how the mural relates to the overall site, that's the IC building in the rear of the property. I think pretty much covers it. They did submit all the dimensions and diagrams in your packet, and you can also see that I didn't mention they will be using this IC logo at the top, the standard IC logo, corporate logo. So I think that about wraps it up, so I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
That includes the 3 signs on the top, the 3 IC signs?
Sir?
That includes the 3 IC signs on the top?
Yes, sir, it does.
Do we have a representative here from IC?
Good evening.
Good evening. Would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Do.
State your name and address for the record.
So my
please.
name is Jeff Konechny. I'm with Panatone Development Company. I'm not with IC. My address is 35 Music Square East, Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm here really just speaking in support, you know, as the owner of the building, we support what IC wants to do out here. We think it's a great amenity to Park 24. IC, you know, moved their corporate headquarters from California to here. You know, they're in a 90,000 square foot warehouse, so half of that is office. We've got some really good high-paying jobs. I look at this as a real amenity to Park 24, and really kind of look at it as, you know, and in Nashville, you have I believe in Nashville signs and stuff, and those type of murals. I think this will give Vergne that opportunity. So as the owner, we support this sign.
Okay, I think it's a great thing for Laverne.
I do too.
My only question is on the cartoon aspect of it.
Well, I'll let Nicole, with the IC representative, speak to that.
Okay?
Hi.
Would you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Natalie Peterson, and I work out of the 265 Mason Road at the IC Company.
Okay?
I've been with IC for 12 years now, and one thing that we've realized is that bear just brings, it's the first thing people think of. It brings a smile to their face, and it's so iconic with the memories people have. And our thought is that that can give back to the community, give people a chance to come and take a photograph with their families, maybe come in and have an IC if they're in the area. But as we looked at the different designs, that one is what brings a smile, and so we thought that the cartoon aspect would just be nice for our brand and to bring that smile and memory out.
Are there any questions, board members?
I have a couple. Question, the first representative said that Panatone owned the land, and we have a letter from the IDB that owns the property. Can we just discuss that a little bit of who owns what and where?
So that property, there's 2 ground leases on the property to the Industrial Development Board. One is to the IC building, that building that Bo just had up there, and then where the water tower is where Cardinal Health is. And so part of attracting both Cardinal and IC to Laverne was Rutherford County offered a pilot program. And as part of that pilot program, that's a tax abatement for, I believe, 7 years. And so part of the deal is we had to transfer our fee ownership into the Industrial Development Board. We ground lease it back, so it's purely just a mechanism for the tax abatement.
So the land includes the water tank.
Yes, sir.
So then my other comment, Mr. Chairman, is it's a lease to IC, correct?
We lease the land technically from the IDB, and then they lease the land and the improvements back to us.
Well, my comment, Mr. Chairman, I understand what's going on here. My only comment is, at the end of the lease, who removes the sign? So it's just another one of those regular ones. I don't have a problem the way it's laid out and the way it sits there, probably good for Laverne. But if something happens and the lease falls apart, then we have a sign on a water tank that doesn't represent who's there. So my only concern is, at the end of the lease or during the lease, something happens, who's going to remove the mural?
Okay. You want to address that?
So it is a 15-year lease with IC, so it's a very long-term lease. I think that, you know, this is an institutional quality product. You know, whoever owns this property in 15 years isn't just going to let the mural stand. If there's some sort of document that we need to put on record that says once IC vacates the building that the then owner of the property needs to, you know, paint the tank and take it down, I'm happy to do that. But I'm not sure what legal document that may be, but I'm willing to do that.
To your point, Mr. Coates, what would be appropriate is the board, if it's inclined to approve the variance, could approve it contingent upon an agreement with the owner of the property that the variance is only good for the period of time that it's leased by IC. And that in the event that it reverts back to the owner, that the owner or whomever leases it would paint the sign or whatever language we want would remove the signage.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, happy to.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions by the board members? We don't normally have a public hearing on something like this, especially when there's no phone calls, but I understand there's someone here tonight that would like to address the board.
Hello, Board.
Mr. Mayor.
Hello. I just want to state that I am absolutely in favor of this idea. I think it's a good way to kick off an artification of our community, and this will be the starting point of that. And hopefully other businesses will take up that mantra and throughout our community, whether it's the commercial or industrial sector, continue with that and bring some art to our community. So, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the variance as submitted on proviso that when the lease terminates, or if the lease terminates, that the lessee or owner remove the mural from the water tank itself, or paint over.
Everybody hear that and understand that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Need a second.
Aye.
Excuse me.
Second. We need a second.
Oh, we need a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous, and it does pass. Moving along, we'll go to new business number 2. A request for a sign variance, property located at 522 Walden Road, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by Volunteer Cat 2 Partners. Do we have a representative here from that property?
Mr. Chairman, I'm here for Twice Daily, who's the leasing of the property.
I beg your pardon?
I apologize, I'll take this off, you don't mind.
That's fine.
I'm an attorney from Nashville. My name is George Dean. Represent Twice Daily, who's the lessee of the property.
Yes.
There's no one, as far as I know, for the actual property owner.
Okay, would you like to represent the petition then?
Yes, sir, I'd be representing the petitioner, right?
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes,
You
sir.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
George Dean, I'm in the UBS building in downtown Nashville.
All right.
Do you want Mr.?
Yes, Bo, would you read the report, please?
Yes, sir. This request is for multiple signs to be installed at the new Twice Daily that is to be built at 522 Waldron Road. And property is zoned C2, and the site plan for Twice Daily was approved this past February, so just about 4 months ago. The applicants have identified the need for more signage at this location, and generally, you're allowed one wall sign per commercial or industrial building, and then if there's multiple road frontages at that location, you can apply for one additional wall sign. It appears in the submittal that was submitted to the city, it appears that they are wanting 5 additional signs, but I think in the report that they submitted that they said 4. It appears to me that it's 5, but we can cover that a little bit later. So they've got a request for signs, a second wall sign, it appears on the west elevation, a new wall sign on the east elevation, and a wall sign on the north elevation. And then there's some hanging cabinet wall signs, and those details are in your packet. And I'll show some photos on here in just a moment. So it looks like the hanging signs together make up about 19 square feet total, about 19 feet, little over 19 square feet. And then the front, which is the west-facing facade, the front wall sign is 51 square feet. The second wall sign, if it's installed, would be 27.7. And then the wall sign on the east is about 15 square feet. So if you add all those up, it's about 108 square feet of total wall signage. And as I said, currently Twice Daily is limited per the ordinance to one sign on the building. There has been a BOZA sign to notify the public. It's been out there for over a month, and staff has not received any phone calls about this request. Moving on here, so there's the site, the imagery that shows where the Crystal used to be. This is the old Crystal site, if you didn't know that. So it is zone C2, which is the red there. And these are some photos of when the Crystal was there, and what the site looked like. So in the submittal, getting to the specifics on the sign package, you can see, so the top elevation is the east elevation. And it appears that there's a sign that would be installed there. And then on the bottom elevation, that's your west elevation, which is the front of the building, and you've got a twice daily sign over the front doors. And then over here to the right, you can see this white Bison coffee. Appears to me to be the second sign, and then you're gonna see this third sign, although it's mounted around the corner. So it appears here that there's 3 signs plus the fourth one on the top elevation, or the east elevation, and then
There's going to be a sign there on this side here. What side is this?
that's the east facing.
East, back of the building.
That's the interstate side.
Yes.
It'll face
No.
Executive Drive.
Water Road sign.
What side is that?
Well, they're calling it the rear of the building, but it's east facing. It's the east
So
elevation.
it's going to face the interstate.
That's facing the interstate, okay.
So the next slide, then you've got the north elevation, and it looks like a drive-through window here. So you've got a wall sign mounted here, and then they're drawing an arrow. There's a red arrow to show you a zoomed-in detail. So I feel like that's sign 5, and then there's a pergola, and that's what this detail is. And I could not exactly tell how this pergola plays in, but it looked like a 6th sign for a total of 6 on the property, but it may just be a total of 5, but I'll let the applicant talk to that. I think pretty much covers their sign application, so thank you.
Thank you. My first look at it, it seems to me like there's an overabundance of signs. There's signs every which way.
Well, let me kind
ahead-
of start
go ahead
with a
and
couple
address
of
that.
things. First, I guess it's a good explanation to say that Twice Daily has kind of a new model of stores. Not all the stores are like this, where they are using the White Bison coffee. When they have the store that has the White Bison coffee as well as the Twice Daily, they have found that the customers sometimes get a little confused about where to go to get what. So the signage really is an effort to distinguish between, say, an entrance to the main part of the store itself. The pergola, for example, is designed just to service White Bison coffee drinkers, essentially. The protruding sign that Bo talked about is at the drive-through to try and help people who might be getting gasoline, say, at the pumps, and then decide they want to get a cup of coffee through the drive-through. Well, trying to find this drive-through, they've got the small protruding sign in order to give them some guidance as to how to get over there. They found that people get confused about exactly where they need to go in order to get either things that are sold inside the Twice Daily itself, or an external, either through the drive-through or the pergola, where there's exterior seating. If you wanted to buy a cup of coffee there at the pergola, sit down, and Bo did point out that, well, and you can see on the lower part of this diagram the signage there, but to give folks the idea, you don't have to come through the store. You can come over here, buy the coffee. You won't be able to get into the rest of the store, but you'll be in the outdoor area. Sit down there, bring a computer, a Starbucks kind of thing, if you will. That's the overall idea. And since there are kind of 2 operations, if you will, going on the property, that's why the signage seems a little bit different from what you may have seen in most places. I'll add that, and I'm sure this may be as a result of some grandfathering, it seemed to me that your ordinance is fairly new. It looked to me like it's been adopted in the last several years. But we looked around at, say, the McDonald's and some of the other places nearby, and an abundance of signs on those places as well. Now, as I say, may well be as a result of grandfathering. It's been there for a long time. And so the signage was put in prior to the effective date of the new regulations. But it seems like a number of the other places have similar kinds of signage to what we're proposing here. To address Bo's concern about the signs, from our count, it's just 5, and really, we were looking at the twice daily sign, the larger one, the 51 square foot sign, as a sign that's permitted anyway. Where we were trying to, what we were trying to look at from the board's perspective was, for example, the projecting sign that I mentioned a minute ago. It's, and I don't know whether you all have the package, but it's shown on page 5. That's the drive-through sign to try and catch someone's attention. If they're trying to get to the drive-through, that projecting sign on page 5 hopefully helps them find their way into the drive-through. Given the amount of traffic at the pumps, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. There are directional signs, but the directional signs tend to be smallish and sometimes hard to see for the customers. The pergola sign, again, has the white bison. We talked about it just a moment ago. Again, customers who want to drink coffee on the outside, do work on the computer, those kinds of things. This is a side entrance and a place where they can get the coffee and enjoy the coffee outside, and do whatever it is that they might want to do. There's also on the bottom of page, I'm sorry, on page 2 of the materials is the white bison sign that, another wall sign, but that Bo spoke about. Again, the idea is to make clear to the customer, if you're just a twice daily customer and you don't see any signage identifying the White Buffalo coffee, they don't have that service at all the locations. So the idea again here is to let people know as they're driving by that the coffee is there. They can come in and get coffee at this at this location, whereas it's not available, as I say, at all the twice daily locations. The final one is the white bison coffee letters over the drive-through window, which again Bo pointed out. That's a 4th sign in addition to the large twice daily sign. And again, the difficulty is some confusion about where you can get the drive-through and pick up the coffee to come through the location at the store. So we're really just trying to get give customers a message as to how to get in and out of the place in a way that they don't have to be in the main part of the store where other items are available. This way, if they want to just get a cup of coffee or gas up and get a cup of coffee, they don't need to wander into the main part of the store. They can go through the drive-through or come to the pergola and go to the window there and get a cup of coffee and either leave or stay at the location. Without the signage, folks don't understand what's there, and it's hard for them to find their way around to get what they're trying to do. And again, I mentioned that it does seem that there's several other locations. McDonald's was one. I think we looked at a Taco Bell as well, with a number of different signs on the location. Again, maybe non-conforming, that is grandfathered because it was there earlier. But you can see where there's a little bit of disparity there. And we thought that it was worth coming to the board to ask if the board would consider looking at the signs. And again, as a matter of trying to direct people to the right place, what they needed to do and how they needed to get it done.
Okay, the only thing I have in response, I'm going to open it up to the other board members.
Sure.
Is that we don't do comparison of one establishment and another
Sure.
establishment. We'll always look at the merits of the particular case, so we don't do comparisons. Any other board members have questions?
I have a couple, Mr. Chairman. Just looking, if you look at page 7 of 14, that's the west elevation.
Yes, sir.
I have a difficulty that you have two signs there within 8 to 10 feet of each other. So if you're pulling into get gas or get coffee, me personally, I don't see you'd need two signs. I would agree that if you're pushing the drive-through, that the drive-through one makes sense. If you're coming twice daily and you're looking for that type of coffee and you know it's there, the drive-through sign's going to show that. So the one on the west elevation face that's on the wall, I don't think is necessary. And on top of that, on the pergola, if you're already at the facility at the back location and you've already got your coffee, why would you need another one on the pergola on the west facing elevation? They're my two that I think is a little bit over the top in my opinion.
Yes, I think it was an overabundance of signs too. You know, it's one thing to help the customers find where they want to go and introduce a new idea, but we really try to keep the signage down, you know.
Well, and I certainly can understand that. On the other hand, people driving by, trying to find where the location is, where the coffee is available, again, the experience of the company obviously is that having the sign makes it a little bit better from the standpoint of letting people know that it's available at that location. They can get it at that side, and there's the side entrance that allows them to come in and get the coffee without having to go through the direct store. I understand what you're saying, but I wanted to make sure you understood kind of our point of view.
Right.
Other comment to that, Mr. Chairman, is I sit on the planning board and we saw Twice Daily come in and the signage was just showing the Twice Daily. So again, it's another situation where you got to come in with the planning to get the planning approval, which we did, and then they come back for the signage.
Right.
And that does tend to concern me a little bit of trying to make it work. You know, I understand signage that the applicant wants to make sure it works, but I think there's just too many for this setup. If you're a local coming to Twice Daily, coming through, you know where to go after the first time you go through. Obviously, not so much from the people coming to the interstate, but
Right.
obviously, if you're a local and you come through once, you know where you're going to go to. The people coming off the interstate that have come for the first time, they're going to be looking and be on board of what they're looking for, where to drive to get their coffee. So, you know, those two signs I don't think are really necessary. That's my comment.
Any other comments by the board? Would you be amenable to re-evaluating the signage on here?
I think we would. I think we would.
I would suggest that and give really strong priority to reducing the signage on here. And to give priority to where you really think it's needed and give us another look at the signage.
So you prefer us to come back with another proposal?
I would. You can do what you want to do, of course, but that's what I would suggest.
Well, I was wondering, again, I'm glad to do whatever the board would like us to do. One of my thoughts was if there were a couple of signs that you know you're not happy with, if you wanted to grant whatever you thought was
We could do that. Well, I understand what you're saying, sir. We could do that, but we would rather accommodate what you think is the priority. We could say, we don't care for that sign right there, but the powers to be in your company might say, no, that's the one that we really wanted. And, you know, we want you as happy as can be
Sure.
within our guidelines, you know. So that's what I would say is that if you can come back with another guide.
one of the representatives of the company.
All right?
Yeah, I'm Roger Barton, I'm with TriStar.
Okay?
The one on the back of the building facing the interstate, the white Bison, that's on there by mistake. We normally put those, but I've already taken those off.
Oh,
So that shouldn't have been up there. What we're seeking is actually 4 signs.
Okay.
The one on front of the building, the directional, the one above the drive up where it says white Bison, and the extruding sign on, by the pergola. That's what, it's 4 signs.
And our member also mentioned that you had 2 signs, what was it, 8 feet apart?
8, 10 feet.
he's talking about that one.
I mean, it's just on the front west elevation. I mean, just
Right.
if you're driving up you're going to see one of those signs. I mean, obviously, if you want to push the drive-through, take the one off the wall off, because they're just too close together. I mean, it's just very repetitive.
You're looking at the west elevation on page 7, and it's really the second sign from the right is the one you're talking about mostly, but either one or the other.
Well, I mean, for me, the larger sign doesn't make sense because you want people to go to the drive-through.
Right.
So the one hanging on the wall on the right side on page 7 would make sense. The one on the wall facing it, that's 8 to 10 feet away, is just repetitive.
I just want to make sure I
No,
understood
no,
what
I
you're saying.
understand.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Can we have one or the other, or,
Well,
I'm not trying to see which.
again, as Chairman said, we're trying to accommodate you. At the moment, as you can tell, we feel there's too many. So we give them the option. We can continue on and give you and vote on the signs that we want. But what Mr. Chairman's saying is, why don't you take a look to see what you really want and come back to us? If you don't, we can make a decision tonight and move forward, and you can go on with your business.
And I just didn't know what you prefer.
I prefer to move forward because the store's under construction now, so
Okay.
I need to get a decision on the signage. Like I say, the one on the back of the building shouldn't have been on here. The one that says White Bison from the interstate, that
Right.
shouldn't be on here.
Right.
So what we're seeking is the one on the front of the building, the directional sign, and the one above the drive-up window that says White Bison, and then the sign on the pergola.
And my contention with that, Mr. Chairman, is that they made the application with these drawings, we presented with the drawings to look at, and if we have the incorrect ones, that's not our problem. They came to see us, and obviously there's been a miscommunication of what happened. So what you're indicating then is that on page 8 of 14, the one with the red circle, that's not part of that will not be installed on the building, is that correct?
That is the one above the drive-in window. I'm seeking that, yes.
So you're seeking that one? You
Yes.
want that one?
I thought
That's-
he had one on the back of the building, they were showing it a while ago. but-
Is that the east elevation, this one?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes. The east elevation on page 7, on the back of the building?
So it's the top
Yes,
image
the top.
here, okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
That one
one of the
we should
board
already
members
taken
just
off.
mentioned to me that he is confused. And I agree with the member here, is that a piece of paper, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You give us a diagram of what you actually want, and we can say yay or nay, then there's no questions about it. So that's what I'm suggesting. You can come back at our next meeting and give us what you want in the picture form, and we can say yay or nay. And then we have something written that we agreed upon. And there can't be any misunderstandings then.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
So we're going to table this until the next meeting?
Yes, sir, I think for purposes of the record, and I probably want the applicant,
Yeah, that's fine.
Dean, if you're okay, if you would just consent to what the board, I think first the Board of Zoning Appeals needs to vote to defer consideration, and we need the applicant to consent to that, to keep the record clear.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to defer the item.
Second.
Move and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Would you agree to that?
Certainly do.
Done.
Thank you.
Thank you. There being no further other business, we are adjourned.